everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. I am your host, Julianne Peterson, and I'm with Old Capital Lending. And I am here every Tuesday night for the last 4 years. We have been doing Zoom at 8, and it is wildly successful. So I am so glad you're here, and we are here to help you build your business. We help introduce you to new people, to vendors that I have vetted, and also to introduce you to industry experts. And tonight you're going to learn from Mark. Mark Deddens is with iStorm. And if you've never thought about how to protect your property before you owned it, you're going to learn about it. So I'm excited to have you meet him, hear what he's working on. But before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the debt market. If you have not seen recently, the 10-year Treasury keeps going down. So you might say, well, it is a great time to buy. There are more buyers than there are sellers out there right now. And yes, the prices keep going down on 10-year Treasury, but what's happening with the uncertainty is that the spreads, so you've got your 10-year Treasury, we add a spread. That's what it costs to put these deals together. These spreads are getting wider. So they used to start at, let's say, 180 plus the 10-year Treasury. Now it's the 10-year Treasury plus about 220, 250. So you might be thinking, well, I'm getting a great deal on the 10-year Treasury, and you are. But be aware that this uncertainty is still affecting these deals, okay? So if you are looking to underwrite something and you need to figure out, hey, where is this gonna figure out on the loan sizing? Please, let's jump on a call or send me an email. All I need is your T12, the rent roll, an offering memorandum, your underwriting. And we can give you a high level indication. Is it going to be 60%? Is it going to be 70? I just gave one of my clients a 73% indication. So if you buy these assets correctly and the right basis, we can get you to a maximum of 80% leverage. So don't say it's not going to work. Maybe it is. Don't walk away before the timing is right, okay? But tonight, you're going to hear from our industry expert, Mark Deddens. He is a founder, CEO at iStorm Group, the iStorm Group. He's a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur and investor. iStorm's motto is not if, but when. He is a multifamily property owner risk management consultant who identified a unique, highly effective solution to a major obstacle in the risk management and disaster recovery planning space, ultimately to protect your assets against inevitable storm and catastrophic damage. He's in his 12th year of business with over 120 million in project settlements and a 95% claim identification success rate. So I wanted to bring somebody who can help you deal with some of the unknowns when you're buying a multifamily asset that maybe you don't know what you're looking at. You can bring in Mark's team of experts who are also going to be there with your roofer, maybe, who is going to be getting another set of eyes on the project. And you're going to get an expert, basically witness, and some documentation on the asset. And Mark's going to show us exactly what they do. So, Mark, welcome to Zoom at 8. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Julianne. I'm about ready to hire you because you're doing a really nice job.
Well,
talking about our business.
Well, listen, I had somebody on a claims adjuster about 4 years ago. I had my own issues on my own properties where I had wind and storm damage. It cost me $60,000 in mold damage and storm damage, and I nearly lost everything on this property. I lost my tenants, lost a bunch of money. And my dad says to me, well, why don't you call a, what do you call them? Person that will go on behalf of you to the insurance company.
Public adjuster.
Public adjuster. Thank you.
Mhm.
And these guys they're kind of crazy guys. Hard to get a hold of. They're fast talkers. No, I can't help you. And so I was worried. I was going to have some problems. Everybody talks about mold in California like it's, they're going to die tomorrow. So
Yeah.
when I heard about your business, you and I met at NMHC earlier this year, and you had mentioned what your company does. And I was really, really interested to find out more. And you and I have met. I've also seen you at IMN, and I really think that it would be helpful for our audience here and the listeners who listen to this on the YouTube channel, and other folks that maybe are looking for ways to protect themselves, because who knows what could be down the road for you as an investor, and how to protect yourself, because you're the little guy and they're going after you. So you want to be able to protect yourself. So Mark, I would love for you to help our audience here understand what you do. What does iStorm do, and what is the process and of protecting their asset before they even buy it?
Well, I'm pleased to be here. Thank you. How much time do I have?
You have about 30 minutes.
Oh, geez, I don't need that much. Okay. Well, so first, hi, everybody. Nice to meet you virtually. I want to just give you a little bit about me before we dive into what I do and what my company does. You know what, Julianne, can you see my screen? Wait a minute.
Yep, you're sharing available. Yep.
Oh, I am?
Yep. You can share. So just share when you're ready.
Yeah, let me look. Share. Yeah, you said share. So I'm going to share.
We see it.
Can you guys see something that says Drew and Cole Deddens Foundation?
Yes, we've got that on our screen.
All right, cool. So my wife and I lost twin sons in December of 2001. We were blessed to have 5 beyond that, and those are them. This is an old picture. I don't look like that anymore. But my point is, we donate a percentage of our profits every year out of the iStorm group to St. Jude's in Memphis and Columbus Nationwide Children's, and we do scholarships and different programs for Catholic retreats and blah, blah, blah. Basically anything that has to do with children, families who are struggling to raise their children, health issues, and that's our mission. It's bigger than what we do as a company, but I just wanted to kind of let you know that our philanthropic arm between my wife and I is huge. It's a big thing. So just kind of jumping into my organization. So as Julianne said, we're in our 12th year. It's important to know that I had a 16-year healthcare background. So we did full physician practice management, multi-specialty across the US, mostly Eastern US, Midwest. And we did billing, collections, receivables, payer contract negotiation. So in those 16 years, I got to understand the insurance companies, and that while they might be in the risk management business, they are really in the investment business. So your premiums are in their coffers and they're out to work somewhere. So when the curtain call comes, right, the shoe drops or some kind of damage, it's delay, deny, and reject. And that's a legitimate, fair, reasonable, and truly accurate statement. So knowing what their delay, deny, and reject tactics are is extremely important to prepare yourself for the inevitable, because the shoe's going to drop. You're going to have a fire. You're going to have a car drive through a building. You're going to have a tree fall. You're going to have hail. You're going to have wind. All these things will impact you. So are you ready? Because you are at risk and we can help. Now, we can help you without even you being my client. And I'm going to give you some tidbits about how to do that. However, if you want a really, truly formidable risk management program, you have to go outside of what's in your wheelhouse. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So what I really want to do here on the website, can you guys see me okay?
Yeah. Can you expand that a little bit or no?
Well, I don't know. Let's try it. See if I can do a, hold on, I can see. Let me move that. See if I can go to enter full screen. Does that help?
There you go.
A little bit?
Yep.
All right, so we're in 35 states right now. We have roughly, this is shy. We've got over 2,000 properties that we protect. We're closer to 200,000 units. We've settled and executed over $130 million. I got to get on my website, people. But point being, we can operate anywhere. If you called me tomorrow and said, hey, I got a property in North Dakota, no problem. We can go inspect that property and protect you and bring in contractors to help you with that. What's important is that our breadth of services doesn't really change. I don't care if you're in California or Colorado or Dayton, Ohio. It's always the same story: delay, deny, and reject. With that, I know, Julianne, you kind of wanted me to run down this. Do you want me to run down this IMN?
Yeah, that was a good presentation.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Let me pull that up. I think I got it open. Okay, let me get into full screen here. So we've been around a while. We've had a lot of success. This is a program I speak on. Are you guys seeing like little caption at the top?
iStorm group credentials is what it says.
Okay, so you're all right. Good.
Yep.
I'm the only one seeing the caption. So, well, we talked a little bit about us. We don't need to do that again. The important thing is your policy is a contract, okay? And when you guys pay a premium, I'm assuming I'm talking to owners, and they accept that premium and everybody signs a contract, everybody's bound to the terms of that contract, okay? So forget everything else. That policy is a contract, and the language in it dictates everything they're responsible to do, the insurance company, and everything you're responsible to do. So there's about 6 really key elements that you'll hear from an insurance company when they try to tell you we're not paying. And the first 4 you see there are nonsense because they're not included in the contract. Useful life, improper installation, no functional damage. That language isn't in the contract. So I could care less how many times I want to talk about that. What they can get you on is fail to report in a timely fashion or to call it old damage. And old damage is the #1 arrow in their quiver. Because you can't tell me if you have a property in Texas, you can't dig up a date that's 3 years old. You can. And if they can pin it on that date and you don't have definitive information that says, no, it was last month, then you're in trouble because they're going to deny you a fair, reasonable, legitimate claim. So what we do is we go out and we inspect every property. So if you're a new client, Julianne says, hey, Mark, I got 10 assets. I need you to protect me. We're going to go inspect all 10 assets. And we're going to do a very detailed inspection. We're going to document the condition of everything exterior. What's it made of? What's its useful life remaining? Has it been maintained properly? Do you need any maintenance? Has the maintenance been bad? Is there storm damage? We're going to document all of it. And then we're going to support it with time, date, stamp photos. Now we take that same property and we stick it into a proprietary weather tracking system. We say, hey, based on the vulnerability of the property, right? If I got a 2-year-old dimensional shingle roof, I don't need to know if, 0.75-inch hail came through. But if I got a 15-year-old 3-tab roof, I want to know that. So we set the thresholds accordingly. And then when that's flagged, we go back and reinspect. If there's no problem, it's our new baseline. If there's a problem, we bring it back to our owner and say, hey, you got $1 million worth of damages and a $20,000 deductible and a pretty favorable loss run. What do you want to do? We don't make the decision. We're just going to give you the information. And then if you go to the claim, I mean, certainly, we're all going to swing at that pitch, right? $10,000 deductible, $1 million loss. But you have the information. That's the most important thing we can do. I'll never make the decision. If you ask me off the record, what should I do? I'm going to tell you. But for the most part, we're just going to give you the info. But what you're not going to do is get run over by the insurance company on either old damage or failure to report. Failure to report's an issue because 1-inch hail can absolutely do seriously damage to a shingle roof, right? If it's that of the size of a marble, but it's the density of a marble and it's wind driven at 70 miles per hour, it's going to diminish the useful life of that product, right? And I just want to get back to pre-loss operating condition, and I don't want to lose the value of my asset. So it's important to make sure you take advantage of that. But you're never going to get that phone call from the on-site property manager. You're like, oh, we had a little hail. Well, no, it's more important than that, and you need to take a look at it. So that's really the crux of our program, being able to inspect, pre-inspect, report, and then reinspect after something occurs. Now, if you got a guy drive a car through a building or there's a fire or a tree falls, somebody's got to give us a call. I don't know that. But my weather tracking systems will tell me. I talked a little bit about the premiums being invested. Yeah, over 95%, over 90% of our estimates are substandard. Meaning, if we let the insurance company write it, it's coming back deficient. It's either not enough scope, or they omitted items, or it's low dollar. So we have to go back and rewrite those estimates and go back to the carrier. I talk about getting back to pre-loss operating condition, and we all know that's important, right? Has anybody had a wind claim, had wind damage?
No. I mean, I told you I have it, but
Well, I'm sure somebody on here has had significant wind damage, and your property does not look good. It's your calling card, right? If somebody comes on your property for the very first time and they're a potential resident, they don't want to see roofs that are, what's their perception of what's going on inside, right? So we have to get back to pre-loss operating condition because aesthetics are important. Get back to that, get a fair and reasonable settlement in place, and then contract it and rebuild. Rates are going up. Somebody asked me in a session, it might have been in Dallas, Julianne, somebody says, oh, I'm afraid to file claims. The rates are going up. I said, newsflash, rates went up 17% across the board last year. Your insurance rates. Storm, no storm, they're going up. I mean, it's El Nino, it's all this stuff, and it's catastrophic. Florida has not done anybody any favors, and now that's starting to spread beyond that market alone. So they're going up. Can we curtail that? Yeah, there's some possibilities. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But there are some possibilities to try to position yourself by pushing the lower risk button, right? So if I have a $2 million roofing and siding loss, and I go put all new roofing and siding up, your broker better be calling your carrier and saying, hey guys, you have a lower risk property here. I want a better premium, or I want better coverage, or I want something, or go shop. I get too many clients who are like, oh, we don't want to shop. We're afraid we're not going to get insured. I said, look, there's tons of insurance companies and they will write you and you can get insured. I mean, if you've got a student housing that's got balconies and a pool, that's tough, right? That's not an easy property to insure, but your general run-of-the-mill, everyday residence, residential multifamily property, there are carriers that will write you. So don't be afraid to shop, I guess is my big thing. So the biggest thing in all this is go inspect the property. You don't need me to do this, but the report is super important. So if any of you want to see one of these reports and emulate it on your own, I'm happy to share it. You have to document everything exterior. And most importantly, you need to say no wind, no hail. Because then when it gets smacked, because the underwriting report by the carriers is not well done. It's not comprehensive, but they will pull all that language that I told you about earlier out and try to hamstring you on that. And they can't if you have proper documentation. And this is something your team can do. Go document it. Get time, date, stamp photos, written report, perfect condition of the property. It's huge because it's your defense when something does happen. Then what we do is we plug you in. I already told you about this, and we monitor the property for wind and hail, and then we come back and reinspect. If you are going to enter into a claim, you need to have experts. And I'm not talking about a storm chaser. You need somebody that understands your policy, has some ammunition, and understands whether you're going to win or lose a loss, right? Because the worst thing you can do is enter into a loss and have a nightmare, some 12-month, nobody's happy. Nobody likes that. I'm a big fan of Sun Tzu, Art of War, right? Every battle's won before it's begun. So let's make sure our ducks are in a row. That's why we have an over 95% indemnification rate. I don't enter into a battle I can't win. So make sure your ducks are in a row before you go into the ring, because I can do it in 1 round or I can do it in 12 rounds. It doesn't matter. But when I go in, we're going to win. Some of the other things is just understanding your property, your contract, your policy, trusting your carrier or your broker is a mistake. I've had clients who thought they had adequate coverage, and then all of a sudden we come to find out they had co-insurance at 2%, $1 million loss, $300,000 deductible. That stings. Doesn't mean I can't cover it, but it stings because I wasn't aware of it, and all of a sudden here I am, right? So we review the policy before the shoe drops, and that's important. Then we already talked about damage assessment. If you're going to estimate a loss on your own behalf, you should probably hire a PA, a public adjuster, and get an Xactimate estimator in there. We have that. Forensic weather specialist. We can say, I can roll out old damage, but there are a lot of times when they want to try to argue a legitimate data loss. Well, there are such a thing as called a forensic weather specialist, and they challenge Doppler and radar, and they come back and match that up to NOAA. They're important. They'll run you about $2,500 for a report, but if it's legit and you got hundreds of thousands or $1 million on the line, it's worth the money. Engineers, appraisers, every once in a while we need a little legal nudge. So it's important to have these resources at your disposal, even if you just got to reach out for some help and ask someone to point you in the right direction. I talked a little bit about this. You got to push the lower risk button. If anytime you do a CapEx project or you have a large loss settlement and you execute that project, go back to your carrier. And if your carrier doesn't want to talk, shop, go somewhere else. Say, look, guys, you're at low risk here. And you should be able to negotiate, if not a better rate, better coverages with a lower deductible. Somebody's going to buy your policy. And so this whole misnomer of I can't get insurance, that's the industry telling you, trying to brainwash you into thinking that they're doing you a favor, and they're not. Everybody will take your premium. If you're ever approached by someone and it sounds too good to be true, tell them to pound salt, right? Mm-hmm. You ever wondered about whether the salami's still good and should I eat it or shouldn't? If it smells bad, throw it out. And it's the same deal here. Don't get involved with anybody that feels like they might be pressing the envelope, because it's just a big waste of time, right? I don't want to enter in a claim. You don't want to enter a claim unless it's legit. It's got to be a legitimate data loss in the underwriting period of the policy. You got to know the anticipated dollar amount. I've had claims where, we got wind damage. I go out, there's 3 shingles on the ground. Oh, we got $2,000 worth of wind damage. You got 10 buildings, a $20,000 deductible. No, don't file. I mean, don't file frivolous claims because you never know when somebody's going to, decide to cook bacon at 2 a.m. and smoke weed. It happens. I actually had that happen. Julianne, did I tell you about that?
No.
Oh God, I'm in a loss in Dallas. It's fire. Guy had decided he was going to grill out. 2 a.m. He's on the lowest floor, wood deck above him, and it just got out of control. And so I'm there with the origin and cause guys, fire department, and they go, "Oh, we found the cause." And I said, "No, you didn't." They said, "What do you mean?" So I'm inside the sliding door and I look over on the windowsill. There's a half smoked joint. I said, "There's your cause." Had nothing to do with this guy grilling on the back porch. And they kind of laughed, but it was true. I call it weed and bacon, right? Guys are up at 2 a.m. doing nonsense. Pardon me. But anyways, the reality is it's simple. If it's legit, file a claim. If it's weird or doesn't seem right, don't file it. There's too many people out there that are storm chasers and they kill our industry. They're terrible for us. Nobody wins in those deals. So, this is a slide that I put out there, and everybody asked me, "Well, who's who?" And I have to be very careful about this. So we took $100 million 2 years ago. We plugged all those settlements into a spreadsheet, and we had 11 elements of what makes an insurance company awesome or not so awesome. And these are the items, and we ranked them. So we ended up with 25 that we did business with on a regular basis. So we had our top 7, awesome. Our middle 7, take them, they're okay, good enough. And our bottom 7, it's always a hassle. And then you had 40 feet crap, and then you had another insurance company, and I'm not going to mention their name. But anyway, so I stopped mentioning names, but it was just interesting, how to identify. So if I have a client and says, "Hey, who should I be insuring with?" I'll send them the 7 top. I won't badmouth the guys at the bottom, but I will send you the 7 top and say, "Here's companies you should look at." Because most importantly, their willingness to indemnify you in the event of a legitimate loss is high. So every other thing they do along the way, like ease of a supplement, how quickly they get to you, how quickly they get out to the property, how quickly they turn around an estimate. Are they hiring engineers and consultants? If an insurance company is hiring an engineer and a consultant on every loss, they're not hiring these people to tell you yes, okay? It's bad news. And there are some companies that do it every time. And we know who they are. And I don't mind engineers because I have a theory. If you give people enough rope, they will hang themselves. And these engineers have a tendency to do that. So they operate off a template and they put dumb stuff in writing, and then we can beat them up with it. But, the fact of the matter is, it's delay, deny, and reject. So if I get a $3 million loss and I can drag that out for a year, they're still winning. They're winning a little bit. So if I sound cynical, it's because I am, because I've been at it long enough, not just in this industry for 12 years, but 16 years prior. And I watch these companies take advantage of physicians. So, I've got 25 years of dealing with this stuff. So, conclusion, what do we got to do? Look, I am a fan of just being transparent, right? If I develop a decent relationship with the carrier, most of the large loss guys that deal with us, they love us because I got before and afters. They know we're not throwing spaghetti on the wall. It's a legitimate loss. And they can get the file off their plate, right? Every open claim they have is a hassle. They would rather get it handled. So, creating a symbiotic relationship with the carrier is a good thing. I'm not all adversarial. I mean, if you want to be adversarial, I can fight with you, but I prefer not to. So That's the best thing we can do. Little plug on us. We provide our services at no charge. When damage occurs, we settle your claim, then we bring an iStorm certified general contractor in to execute the project. And basically, you pay your fees from the settlement to the iStorm contractor, and they pay us a fee, and that's kind of the end of the deal. Let me get out of here. So let's open up for some questions if we can.
Yeah, let's, I did have a question. I know that the last part of that was key on for me was figuring out the, let's first of all, before we go to those questions, make sure that you have Mark's contact information before you take this off. So Mark can be reached at 855-787-8676. Okay.
Hey, Julianne,
Yes.
let's give my mobile.
Okay. What is your mobile, Mark?
My mobile is 937-572-0746.
Okay. What
If I
I would
don't
like
pick
you to
up
do before,
immediately, I will call you back very shortly.
okay, that's excellent. Make sure before you leave that you put that in the chat so that everybody has that as well.
Okay.
But what I want to make sure everybody understands, and I think you had showed me a visual, and I think it's really helpful for everybody to see the visual of how you see the storm that has come through. So you can watch the storm that came through. Somebody told you it was going to be coming through. You can watch it. It came through. They may call you, and then you can send somebody out, right? That's kind of how that works. You can inspect it, make notes, right? Kind of walk us through that process, because I think it's very important to make sure that everybody has a very clear understanding of how your services work. They're free, which I love. You get, as you mentioned, you have the inspection. The person can have it inspected. You then take that information and you put it into your documentation, right? And then you're watching it using this kind of system. Is that right, Mark?
You are correct.
Okay. So kind of walk us through this. I think this is really interesting.
So right now you guys are looking at a map. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the little white markers with the blue dots, this is Cleveland, Ohio, near and dear to my heart. I'm down in Dayton. Every one of those dots represents a property. So right now I'm kind of highlighted over Maple Village, and that's an apartment complex up there. See these little weather icons?
Mm-hmm.
325 brought 70-mile-per-hour winds through the Cleveland area. We had 65 to 75-mile-per-hour winds recorded on over 80 of these 220-something properties up here. So we went back and re-inspected. And of those 80, we had about 50 that were hammered. So that's it. Whether it's wind or hail, we get the notification and then we come in. I want to back off a little bit, see if I can find a hail date. Let me get this this wind map. Get rid of that. It's a little annoying. Oh, we had some wind, we had some hail down in Nashville. Let me find that. Sorry, guys, this goes a little slow when I'm in here. In Nashville, we'll just pull up this property. Let's see what kind of impact dates we've had here in Nashville. So I'm running a history right now on this particular property. Show me what's happened in the past, whatever, 10 years. Okay, so this is a hail impact report. Nothing really significant. Looks like 2019, 1-inch hail got kind of close. We'll just pull that up for demonstrative purposes. Oh, that isn't even a good one. Let me find another one. Oh yeah, this is better.
So this is tracking that particular storm then?
Yeah, this is really old though. This was 5/31/2018. So we're out of the indemnification period. But for illustrative purposes, see the yellow
Mm-hmm.
and the orange? That's a hail swath. It shows me where the hail fell. So we had 1.5-inch hail within like a 2-mile radius of Lafayette Landing, my client Buckingham Properties. So what we would have done is immediately just shot over to that property. This may or may not have hit. I really don't care. Because if it didn't, I just ruled to stay out. Does that make sense?
Say that again. You ruled to stay out?
I ruled the date out. So 5/31/18 says, oh, 1.5-inch hail hit this property. If I go there and it didn't, I've ruled it out. You follow?
Yeah. Yep.
So now I don't have this old damage arrow in the quiver. So I can go back. Oh, I've had claims where we've gone to claim. And they said, oh, no, it was this date and that date. And I go, oh, I have a baseline and 3 re-inspects. So don't even tell me. Let me see your report. And they have nothing, of course. And then we can pin it right. So if this date does damage, then, you know, I've got them lock, stock, and barrel.
So it really is a protection for you as the buyer of this property and owner of this property. So it's documentation to your insurance company for no charge.
That's correct.
Very interesting. Okay, so and so you document it when you buy it. You're going to do it before you buy it. You're going to have that documentation.
Well, okay, so let's say you come on as a client, you got 10 assets that you own.
Well, let's say Clayton has a new property. Okay, he's buying a new property. He's looking at it. Does he call you, or does he say, "Hey, I'm buying this property in San Antonio"?
Clayton gets his offering memorandum. He strikes a deal. His first phone call should be to me because I'm going to go look at it. I'm going to look at it with a different set of eyes. And here's what I'm going to make sure doesn't happen to Clayton. I'm going to make sure Clayton doesn't buy a property with pre-existing storm damage. Because if it's got wind and hail, I will validate that through my weather tracking system. And I'll come back and say, Clayton, you have a legitimate data loss. It's indemnifiable. You got $500,000 or $1 million worth of damages. The last thing you want to do is go back to your seller and say, hey, we got a problem. We got to negotiate the price. That's one thing you can do. But the other thing you can do is go back to the seller and say, hey, file a claim. I'll suck up your deductible and then do an assignment of benefits at the closing table. I do this all the time. So you all of a sudden go to brand new roofs and siding on a property that otherwise you might have inherited old damage. You know the danger in that, right? But yeah, we do that at no charge, Julianne. We'll just go look at it. We'll tell you what you got.
So
using regular due diligence, guys, is not the answer.
So Clayton brings in his roofing guys, and he also brings in you as well. Is that correct?
He doesn't need to bring in his roofing guys. I'll go do it.
Okay.
He can save that money. If he's paying $1,500 to have a roofer look at this thing, bag it. Call me. I'll send a team. We'll give you a much more comprehensive report. And it'll also protect you against any sort of assumption of pre-existing damage. And we don't charge you a thing. If you end up needing to go to a claim, not if, but when, someday, might be 2 years down the road, and we'll come in and settle it, and we'll make a little money when the contract is executed.
Amazing. All right.
It's something, isn't it?
It really is. It seems so easy, and yet nobody's doing it. I mean, not enough people are doing it. So I love that. So let's open up the door. Who has any questions? Roger, do you
I
have any
have questions.
questions?
I
You-
have
oh,
questions. Nope.
Okay, what do we got,
Yeah,
Justin?
I actually have 7, but I don't think I'll be able to get to all of them. So I may have to hit Mark's line there. But thank you for the presentation, Mark. My first question, what is the most common request of the clients you serve?
The most common request? Oh, boy. Well, I'm going to answer that 2 ways. First of all, I'm going to defer. I want you guys to jump into YouTube, iStorm Group. There's a business YouTube channel. I spend significant money on high-end production quality video. None of them are over 2 minutes. And it's my clients telling our story. And it's awesome. But anyways, to jump back, it's interesting because I do client satisfaction surveys all the time. You know what I thought I was going to hear? Oh, your ability to sell, your ability to build. That isn't what I heard. What I heard was communication. We're very transparent, right? If it stings, but you're going to hear it from us, right? So I am all about you knowing as much as we know before we even know it. So communication is probably, if not the number one request, but the number one you guys are really good at, right? So, but as far as questions are concerned, you know, I run into people all the time and they go, I'm in the middle of a hot mess. And I always say the same thing. I need to see your policy. I need to inspect your property, and then I'll give you the information. Won't make any promises, but I'm always going to be honest. I'll say, hey, you're in trouble. You ain't getting out of this, or we can fix it. But we get into these hot messes all the time. I don't like them because I'd much rather have a property that I have a baseline on, right? It's way easier for me. When we have a baseline, we settle within 45 to 60 days. $1 million claims. Multi.
I remember, Mark, you were mentioning that we talked about a vertically integrated team that has their own construction, that you could use them as well, right? As the contractor, if they wanted to do the work. How would that work? How does that work?
Well, we have a team of iStorm certified contractors across the US. So we vet these contractors. We keep their, great question, by the way, we keep their credentials, their general workers' comp, general liability. We inspect their work. We make sure they're not felons. We check the trade. We do all of it. Mm-hmm. And then once they get through all that, they get the opportunity to do work for us. Now, if I have an owner client or property management company says, we love this contractor, I'm happy to vet them. Mm-hmm. And if they pass our vetting process, we'll use them. I got no problem with that. So if you think you got some special contractor that you want to do business with, no problem. As long as they pass our vetting process, because iStorm Group carries E&O, general liability, umbrella. If one of my contractors goes deep six for some reason, which I haven't had to happen, I'm standing behind it. So I vet them very hard.
Okay, perfect. Before we go to Clayton, Justin, you had another question quickly?
I got multitude of questions, so you can go to Clayton.
Okay.
I'll come back if nobody else has any.
Okay, Clayton.
Hey, Mark. Maybe you mentioned this earlier when Julie asked you, and I didn't catch it, but can you restate how much of your early analysis can be done prior to any sort of early access or being under contract with the due diligence authorization? Like how much can be done and how does that impact the efficacy of like your early analysis? Like, can you do it based on, you know, prior claims and records and things like that to get a good idea, or do you actually need some sort of property access to be, you know, effective in providing a full report?
That's a kind of wide open question, Clayton, but to answer it with what I think I understand, I have to have eyes on the property. Okay, whether you pay me to look at or not is irrelevant. If you came to me and said, hey, I got a hot mess out here and I got all this correspondence, I'm embroiled in a battle, I would just say, give me all your info from the insurance company and let me go look at it. And then I would come back and give you honest, transparent information, right? As far as, hey, I've got a property, I have some suspicions, just let me know. We'll go look at it. I for the first 2 years of my business, I didn't have a contract. And my attorney yelled at me, and I actually got to a point where my clients yelled at me. You have to have a contract. I said, what? I said, contract's an argument. If I don't perform, I'm going to force you to use me. So we kind of ran like that. But if you have a property you need me to look at, I'm happy to do it. We'll come out, we'll look at it, I'll send my team, we'll give you a viable report. The efficacy of the information is always going to be 100% transparent and accurate. Because I know not if, but when, right? So if I put this stake in the ground for you, whether we're contracted or not, when the shoe drops, I'm going to get a phone call and they're going to say, I want this guy to settle this and I'll use his contractor and then I'll monetize. And it's that simple. And I've been able to do that because the occurrence, if you will, the conversion rate of damages is high. 10% of our base gets smacked every year.
Mhm.
I'm good to go, right? I'm making my money, but I'm also putting all that money back into. Somebody asked me once, I said, what's your goal? What's your aspiration? You want to be at 100 million property? I said, no, I just want to continue to be curious. I got to get better. Because my concern is not the 95% that I settle, it's the 5% that we don't. And that to me is a sore spot. So I hire a lot of young guys and I try to get them out of the box, like Steve Jobs, right? I hire smart people to tell me what to do. And that's so I can tell them what to do. And so we're focused on that. We just want to continue to be curious and of service to our clients and figure out that 5%. Does that make sense?
Does.
Sorry, I ramble a little bit. Plus, I'm drinking coffee. Okay,
Who else?
Justin.
Justin, we're back to you, and then we're going to get on to networking.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. My next question kind of was to your system. Looked really cool. Who developed it? And I mean, you kind of explained. My second part of it is how does it work? Looks like it's more manual data entry. But yeah, I was curious about that system because you kind of touched on it a bit.
Well, so I'd love to hit my son who works for me. He just turned 23, he's my director of risk management. He would say, oh, Dad, it's always taking credit for stuff he didn't do. So this system here, and I have two different weather tracking systems. There's this one called Interactive Hail Maps.
So you have to share it.
Oh, my bad.
That's okay.
Thank you, Julianne. Always keeping me straight. All right, can you guys see this one?
Yep.
All right, cool. So this one's called Interactive Hail Maps. And then I've got another one, which is kind of a weather tracking 2.0, and it's got meteorological information, and that's called Hail Trace. So I kind of use Interactive as a backup because it gives me a quick cursory, but this one here is like the bomb. So it'll give me meteorologist ground level information. I mean, and then we wash all this. So Justin, as much as I'd like to say it's me, these systems are not me, but I will say this, that the program itself, I'll take all that credit because I got into this in 2011, November by accident. Funny story. So I'm an entrepreneur by trade. I got involved in a startup out of DC. We protected seniors against unscrupulous service providers. We're in an A round of funding, 12 months in. Of course, when all this started, my wife goes, I ain't doing this. Because she's been through these, right? You're eating hamburger and spaghetti. Because you don't pay yourself. And so she went back to work. And then I had the company came in our A series round of funding and said, we're buying it. Well, none of us made any money. Crap. And my wife came home about 2 months later, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And she walked into my office. I had a t-shirt on, hadn't shaved, hadn't showered, shorts. She walks in my office and she goes, if you're sitting here tomorrow, we're getting divorced. And then she goes, hey, I ran into this roofing company. And remember that big hailstorm? I said, I'm not getting in the damn roofing business. She goes, no, it has something to do with insurance. I said, all right, now you got my attention. And I went in and I met with the owner. He was just a storm restoration guy. And I said, Donnie, I said, what's the deal here? He goes, oh, our guys are making $6,000, $7,000 a month. And I mean, just knuckleheads. And I went, cripes, if they're making $6,000 or $7,000 a month, I'm gonna make $20,000 a month. So it was kind of a money motivator. Plus I had to get out of the house before I got clubbed over the head with a frying pan. So that's how I got into this. It was just interesting. But 6 months in, Justin, I realized what I already kind of knew: delay, deny, reject, and old damage, old damage, old damage. They were hammering everybody on old damage. It was like, oh, there's an old storm. Nothing you can do about it. I said, wait a minute, we're inspecting, if we inspect 10 properties, 8 are not going to be damaged. Why wouldn't we document this and then watch it going forward? And it was that simple. And here I am 12 years later. And you know who else does it in the country? No one. And I'm glad to put my formula up, because you got to have a track record.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, terrific story, and what a product. The fact that it's free is even a better reason why you wouldn't just engage iStorm. Call Mark, have him help you help yourself, so that you are ready in case of an emergency. You've got it documented. All right. I'm a big advocate for making sure everything is in place. Oops. Did you want to show us something? I'm sorry, Mark.
I was just going to show did you cut me off?
I was just going to go into the ready to move.
Oh, no worries. I just want to make sure that, can you see my screen?
Nope. Go ahead and share it one more time.
All right. All right. Hold on a minute. I've lost you. Or you lost me. Hold on a sec. Yep. Okay. Can you guys see it now?
Yes.
All right. That's me. Business page right here. I am happy to help. Just reach out. I have one commitment. And remember, I started this presentation with my children, my boys, Drew and Cole, 23 years later. So I'm just a firm believer that if you do the next right thing, good things will happen. So I'm happy to help any and all of you. No commitment, no charge, no nothing. I met Julianne and I loved her immediately. And we just kind of had a bond. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I did drop your phone number in the chat. Let's just make sure that it is correct. I have 937-572-0746. Is that correct, Mark?
That's accurate.
All right. So that is the way to get a hold of Mark. If you would like to have a further discussion with him, please reach out. Tell him you met him on Zoom at 8. As well, connect with all of our speakers on LinkedIn and on Facebook, so they know exactly, and tell them, send them a message. I saw you on Zoom at 8. It's really important that people know why are you connecting with me? Okay. All right. Well, Mark, again, thank you so much.